What if the undeniable proof of a higher power isn't like a complex math equation or some ancient miracle, but just the awe you feel staring at a waterfall?
Right. Or your internet browser history, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
mean, usually when someone claims to have concrete evidence of the divine, we expect it to look objective, right?
sure. We want something we can measure.
Yeah, something completely detached from our messy human emotions, like, 2 plus 2 equals 4, regardless of how you personally feel about the numbers.
Well, we crave empirical certainty because it feels safe. But the moment you step into the realm of philosophy and spirituality, that calculator just becomes entirely useless.
It really does.
You're suddenly navigating a landscape of evidence that is intensely personal, wildly subjective, and honestly deeply tethered to the physical body.
And that is exactly the terrain we are exploring in today's deep dive. We are looking at a highly provocative excerpt from a text by a writer named Xu Feng. The larger work is titled, There is a Supernatural Soul in the Universe 40 Evidence Proving the Existence of the Greatest Creator.
It's quite a title.
It is. But specifically, we are zooming in on section 22 today, which is titled, The Masterpiece of the Greatest Creator, The Beauty of Nature. And our mission here is to really dig into a highly personal, deeply conflicted argument that uses the visceral experience of beauty to prove the existence of a higher power.
Right, and it's an argument that literally spans the globe while also wrestling with intense internal conflict. But to really grasp how he gets there, we have to establish his foundational worldview first.
Right.
So Feng basically operates from the premise that human beings are moving along prearranged tracks.
Like we're on rails.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In his view, we can't fully grasp or control our own fate. Every movement, every circumstance is orchestrated by an unseen hand.
Which naturally prompts a massive existential search for you, the reader. I mean, if we are on a track, who laid the rails? Who is the super wisdom controlling all of this? Okay, let's unpack this, because reading this text is quite a ride.
It really is.
His answer to that massive question comes entirely from how he visually and emotionally processes the world around him. At first, it starts out sounding almost like a travelogue, like a really poetic diary of a backpacker.
Yeah, he's building what philosophers might call a teleological argument. So an argument for a creator based on perceived purpose in nature. But instead of pointing to, like, the complexity of the human eye or planetary orbits, he just points straight to his own emotional reactions.
Which is fascinating.
He recalls this literature teacher who once told him that we are completely surrounded by beauty, but we just, quote, lack the eyes to perceive it.
Wow.
And from that exact moment, he stops looking at grand landscapes as just geography. He starts interpreting them as deliberate, emotional gifts from a creator.
And he takes us on this huge tour of his memories to prove this point. He talks about a trip in 1986 to the Mandarin Duck Reservoir.
Oh, yeah, out Jinta County.
Right. He steps off a bus with his classmates, looks out at the vast, endless Gobi Desert, and his immediate feeling isn't about the harsh sand or the oppressive heat. It's this overwhelming sense of wildness and wonder.
They all just start yelling out loud, right?
Right. Completely awestruck.
And notice how highly specific those aesthetic reactions are.
Yeah.
He doesn't just say, oh, it looked nice.
No, not at all.
He assigns these really complex emotional weights to different places, like when he climbs the Great Wall at Bedeling.
Oh, the dragon metaphor.
Yeah, he describes it meandering over the mountains like a flying gigantic dragon, which fills him with a sense of valiance and unrestrained freedom.
And then later, at a geology school in Zhangjiakou, he's just watching curling smoke rise beyond the Great Wall in the wilderness.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just hit him as a pretty picture, it hits him with like profound serenity and composure. Sitting by the Yellow River, he feels surging emotions just watching the water roll.
He really travels everywhere in this text, too.
He does. He mentions beaches in Luanda, Angola, Bella Port in Mozambique, Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, Hainan Island, the Cape of Good Hope.
Yeah, and everywhere he goes, the sky and the sea give him this sense of mystery and eternity.
My favorite image, though, is him driving this massive 6-ton Chinese Jifeng truck to fetch water near the Victoria waterfall on the Zambezi River. I mean, you can almost hear the engine and the water roaring together.
It's such a visceral description.
He describes the waterfall's mountain-shaking power and its tumbling heroism.
Tumbling heroism is just such a remarkable phrase. He's literally categorizing the entire planet by the psychological resonance it creates in the human mind. The rainbows, the rumbling water, it all creates this dreamlike feeling of dauntlessness for him.
And he even does this with places he hasn't even been to. Like he talks about the Hulenbur Prairie in Inner Mongolia.
Right, based purely on a dance.
Exactly. He only knows it because he learned to dance about it in middle school. Yet just from imagining the galloping horses and the white clouds, he finds the mental image completely intoxicating.
It's all about the emotional response for him.
But I have to jump in here, though. This feels like a massive leap in logic, right? I mean, finding a waterfall beautiful doesn't automatically mean a supernatural being crafted it specifically for you.
Sure, it's a huge leap for a lot of people.
It's kind of like walking into a beautiful museum and instead of admiring the painting, immediately trying to find the architect of the building to thank them, it just assumes a manufacturer where nature might just be a blind mechanical process.
Well, that tension you're feeling is exactly where modern evolutionary psychology collides with his theological framework.
Okay, how so?
Because from a strict evolutionary standpoint, we can easily explain why humans like certain landscapes. We prefer green prairies because they suggest food and safety.
Makes sense.
We're drawn to water sources like rivers and waterfalls for obvious survival reasons. Aesthetically pleasing environments historically signaled, a higher chance of just staying alive and passing on our genes.
Right. So we evolved to feel good in places that keep us alive. That makes perfect sense. So where does the greatest creator fit into that biological reality?
Well, the author is basically arguing that survival doesn't mandate awe.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, if we just needed to pass on our genes, a dull, robotic indifference to sunsets would work just fine, right? As long as we drank the water and ate the food.
Oh, I see.
Evolution requires utility. It doesn't require poetry. To the author, the fact that we feel profound eternity looking at an ocean or tumbling heroism at a waterfall, that's an emotional surplus.
It's extra.
Exactly. It's completely superfluous to mere survival. Therefore, he concludes this highly specific emotional resonance must be an intentional feature, a deliberate design by a creator meant specifically for us to experience joy, not just mere existence.
Okay, I get that. And it's really easy to look at a rushing river and call it divine. But the author's proof doesn't just stop at socially acceptable geology.
No, it definitely does not.
If all beauty is divine proof, his theory is about to crash headfirst into a massive moral wall when he applies it to human temptation. Here's where it gets really interesting, because the argument violently pivots away from nature documentaries and into a much more complicated, provocative, and honestly guilt-inducing type of beauty.
Yeah, this transition really forces you to grapple with the logical extreme of his own premise. Because if beauty proves God, what happens when beauty is culturally defined as sinful?
Right. He straight up admits in the text that he hasn't really studied what he calls the four ancient beauties in China. But he makes a huge point to say he has appreciated numerous Western beauties from the internet, especially nude ones.
Quite a confession.
Yeah, suddenly we aren't talking about the Zambezi River anymore. We are smack in the middle of a deeply uncomfortable, deeply human moral crisis.
And we really have to look at the precise mechanisms of the philosophies causing this crisis to understand his panic here. He notes that he's been deeply influenced by Buddhism, Christianity, and Confucianism.
That is a heavy philosophical lineup.
It really is.
Yeah.
And each of these traditions provides a specific architecture for his guilt. In Buddhism, attachment and desire are the root causes of suffering, right?
Mm-hmm.
The physical body is temporary, and craving it binds you to an endless cycle of misery.
Right, right.
In Christianity, there's a heavy emphasis on lust as a sin that corrupts the soul. And Confucianism emphasizes social order, propriety, and mastering your base urges for the greater good.
So his internet browser history is actively triggering a three-front philosophical war in his own head.
Exactly.
The power of this human beauty is so overwhelming to him that it causes a complete collapse of his moral defense line. And the metaphors he uses to describe this guilt are incredibly violent.
They are so visceral.
He compares these internet beauties to the painted skins, or huapi, from that old book, Strange Stories from a Chinese Studio. In those folktales, demons disguise themselves as beautiful women to, and these are his exact words, suck his marrow, pull out his tendons, and skin him alive.
That's terrifying imagery.
He even quotes a saying that an 18-year-old beauty is a sword that can cut through an ordinary man. He genuinely feels like his life force is just being drained away by looking at these images.
And that visceral nature highlights a profound cognitive dissonance for him. He's fundamentally trapped between his worldview and his biology. On one side, you have the teachings of Jesus and Sakyamuni ringing in his ears, warning him that this temptation is demonic,
It's a trap.
a literal trap designed to destroy him. But on the other side, his natural biological inclination and the magnetic pull of this physical beauty are so agonizingly strong that he admits he almost wishes to be consumed by it.
Okay, wait, I need to push back hard on this. Isn't the author just, like, trying to philosophically justify his own internet browsing habits?
How do you mean?
Like, turning it into a high-stakes theological debate feels incredibly convenient. He gets to indulge his earthly vices, look at whatever he wants online, and somehow spin it as religious appreciation of a creator's masterpiece.
I hear that, but framing it as a convenient excuse really ignores the genuine, agonizing misery he describes in the text.
You think he's really suffering?
Oh, absolutely. He isn't casually justifying a vice. He's in active psychological distress. He's wrestling with a contradiction that threatens to just break his entire worldview. I mean, think about it. If beauty can cause our downfall, why is the beauty of nature considered purely good?
I see.
Aren't a beautiful waterfall and a beautiful person cut from the exact same cloth? If a waterfall proves a loving God, how can a beautiful person prove the existence of a soul-destroying demon?
Man, that is the million-dollar question he is hitting a wall with. If they're both beautiful, why does one make him feel serene and the other make him feel like his tendons are being pulled out?
Exactly.
Pushed to this breaking point of self-pity and just intense repentance, he realizes he has to find a way out. He cannot sustain that cognitive dissonance. He has to reconcile this crushing religious guilt with his completely undeniable appreciation for human beauty.
And that brings us to his turning point.
Right, which hinges on one simple but massive question he asks himself. Who has bestowed beauty upon everything?
He begins to synthesize his experiences to save his own ego from being crushed by this guilt. And honestly, we can view this grand theological framework as a brilliant psychological survival mechanism.
Oh, definitely.
He reasons that if human life were purely about bare biological survival, the Creator wouldn't have bothered with aesthetics at all. All we would need is, and he puts this so bluntly, a kennel and a basin of pig feed.
A kennel and a basin of pig feed that just strips away all the poetry of the universe in one single sentence.
It perfectly illustrates the absolute baseline of a utilitarian existence. But because we are given a surplus, because the world is draped in starlight and morning glows, dancing butterflies, and yes, physically beautiful people, he concludes that this beauty must have been created by the greatest creator specifically for us to enjoy.
So, what does this all mean for his guilt? Because he still has to deal with the religious texts warning him about lust, right? He can't just throw out Buddhism and Christianity and say, well, the creator made it, so anything goes.
No, he doesn't throw them out. He decides that Jesus and Buddha aren't wrong, but perhaps their warnings have just been misunderstood.
Oh, interesting.
The analogy he lands on is that honey is sweet. Honey is a fundamentally good natural thing. But if you get hopelessly stuck in it, you put your life at stake. The problem isn't the honey.
The problem is your interaction with it.
Exactly. He radically reframes the source of the danger. The danger isn't the beauty itself. The beauty is divine. The danger is human greed, the desire to possess and hoard it. He argues that beauty is a divine gift that must be shared, not privatized.
So people only demonize beauty when they realize they can't exclusively own it.
Right, they call it a sword or a demon because they can't possess it.
Okay, it's like he's saying beauty is a high-voltage power line. It brings light, it brings vital energy, it's this incredible divine gift that powers the entire world. But if you try to grab it with your bare hands, if you try to hoard that raw electricity all for yourself in your own house, you just get completely fried.
That's close, but to really capture his philosophical shift, it's less about electrocution and maybe more about gravity.
Okay, gravity.
Yeah, like a planet's gravity is what keeps us grounded. It holds the oceans and the atmosphere together. It is immense and beautiful. But if you try to take a piece of a dying star and hold it in your living room just for yourself, the sheer density and gravitational pull will just crush you and everything around you.
Wow, yeah.
By reframing temptation not as a demonic trap set to destroy him, but as a masterpiece of the Creator that simply requires respectful distance, he resolves his cognitive dissonance perfectly.
He really turns what was a source of deep, agonizing shame into the ultimate, undeniable evidence of God.
He really does.
And he actually takes this newfound resolution and addresses the internet beauties directly at the very end of the text.
Which is such a wild pivot.
It is. He tells them that while the road to paradise, or what he calls the Elysium world, might be closed to them, presumably because their beauty ties them so heavily to the physical, earthly realm, he offers an alternative. He offers to lead them to the 1,000-year world.
But he attaches a very specific theological condition to this offer.
Right.
They have to remember that their physical beauty is not their own doing. It's an unearned gift from the greatest creator. They must feel indebted to that creator, and most importantly, they cannot use their beauty for evil or manipulation.
He just brings the entire wild journey full circle, from the vast windswept emptiness of the Gobi Desert to the glowing screen of a computer monitor. He unifies all of it under one single umbrella. He writes, "Beauty is the masterpiece of the greatest creator, and the existence of beauty is the best evidence of the existence of the greatest creator."
It is honestly a remarkable piece of mental architecture. He manages to build a bridge between his deepest religious anxieties and his most primal human desires, using the concept of aesthetic beauty as the mortar.
It really makes you pause and think about how you move through your own life. When the person listening to us right now, when you see something breathtaking today, whether it's an incredible piece of art, a stunning sunset, or even just a strikingly beautiful person walking down the street, how do you process it?
Yeah, what's your internal reaction?
Do you view that spark you feel simply as a biological trick, a neurological reward system built by evolution just to keep you alive? Or does it feel like a connection to something transcendent, something deliberately placed there just for you to experience a moment of joy instead of just surviving on a kennel and pig feed?
But, following his logic forces us to confront a massive unexplored thread here.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if a world meant only for survival would just be pig feed, and therefore all beautiful things are the deliberate, expressive fingerprints of a divine designer, what do we make of ugliness?
Oh, wow, that completely flips the script.
Right. What about decay and terror in nature? Does a rotting log in the forest possess a divine aesthetic?
Or like a terrifying deep-sea predator with translucent skin and needle teeth.
Exactly. Or a deeply destructive hurricane that wipes out an entire coastline. If beauty is the objective proof of a greatest creator's love, does what we find physically repulsive prove something else entirely?
Or maybe our entire definition of a creator's masterpiece is heavily, arrogantly biased by what merely makes us humans feel comfortable and inspired.
It's a huge question to grapple with.
It really is. We started this deep dive talking about how we usually want proof to look like a math equation, clean, objective, irrefutable. But maybe the universe doesn't deal in math. Maybe it deals in art. And art is messy, it's emotional, it triggers our deepest anxieties, and it always, always depends on the lens of whoever is doing the looking. Keep your eyes open today. You never know what masterpiece you might stumble across or what it might reveal about the architecture of your own mind.